In 1944, Carl Jung experienced what he called the most dangerous moment of my life, not from war, disease, or violence, but from seeing reality too clearly. He later wrote that this clarity nearly drove him insane, and he spent the rest of his career warning others about the psychological catastrophe that awaits those who pierce through society's protective illusions. What Jung discovered was that the human psyche has built-in mechanisms designed to shield us from the raw truth of existence. When these mechanisms fail, when you see the world exactly as it is, something catastrophic happens to your mind. Jung called it the terrible privilege of consciousness, and modern neuroscience has confirmed his most disturbing insights. Most people live their entire lives protected by what Jung termed the merciful veil. But here's what nobody tells you. Once that veil is lifted, you can never go back. And Jung's research revealed that this clarity comes with a price so severe that most minds cannot survive it intact. The case that changed everything began with one of Jung's most brilliant patients, a philosophy professor who came to him in 1923 with what seemed like depression. But within weeks, Jung realized he was dealing with something far more dangerous. The professor had achieved what Jung called absolute cognitive clarity. He could see through every social pretense, every comforting lie, every protective delusion that society depends upon. He understood human nature with surgical precision. He could predict behavior patterns with unsettling accuracy. He saw the meaninglessness behind most human activities, the desperation beneath social interactions, the illusions that hold civilization together. "I can see the machinery," the professor told Jung during one session. All of it. The way people lie to themselves, the way society runs on collective self-deception, the way even love is mostly biological programming and psychological need. "I understand it all, and I can't unsee any of it." Jung documented this case extensively because it represented what he feared most: a mind that had achieved perfect clarity without the psychological framework to contain it. The professor wasn't depressed. He was experiencing what Jung termed the nakedness of reality without any protective psychological clothing. Within months, the professor's relationships disintegrated. He couldn't engage in small talk because he saw its emptiness. He couldn't participate in social rituals because their artificiality was overwhelming. He couldn't find meaning in work because he understood its ultimate insignificance. He was trapped in what Jung called the prison of absolute truth. But here's what made this case truly terrifying. The professor was right about everything. His insights were accurate, his perceptions were valid, and his understanding was profound. Jung couldn't argue with his logic because there was nothing wrong with it. The man had simply seen too clearly, and his mind was fragmenting under the weight of unfiltered reality. Jung realized he wasn't treating mental illness. He was witnessing what happens when human consciousness evolves beyond its natural limits. The professor had achieved a level of awareness that the human psyche isn't equipped to handle, and Jung began to understand that most of what we call psychological health actually depends on strategic blindness. What Jung discovered next would revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself. He identified what he called the protective illusion system, a complex network of psychological mechanisms designed to filter reality into manageable portions. Modern neuroscience has confirmed Jung's insights with disturbing precision. Dr. Chris Frith's research at University College London revealed that the brain actively constructs reality rather than perceiving it directly. We literally hallucinate our experience of the world, and this hallucination is necessary for psychological survival. The system works through what Jung called selective unconsciousness, the mind's ability to unconsciously filter out information that would be psychologically destabilizing. We don't see the aging in our loved ones until it's dramatic. We don't notice the meaninglessness in our daily routines until crisis forces awareness. We don't perceive the artificial nature of social structures until they collapse. Jung identified 4 primary protective mechanisms. First, temporal buffering. The mind spaces out realizations over time so we can adapt gradually. You don't suddenly realize your mortality at age 5. The understanding unfolds slowly across decades. Second, meaning projection. We unconsciously project purpose onto random events to maintain psychological coherence. Jung noted that people would rather believe in cruel gods than accept that suffering is meaningless. Third, social reality validation. We use collective agreement to reinforce shared illusions. When everyone participates in the same comforting delusions, they feel more real than actual reality. Fourth, cognitive compartmentalization. The mind keeps contradictory truths separate to prevent psychological collapse. You can simultaneously know that life is brief and live as if you're immortal. But Jung discovered something that modern psychology still struggles to accept. These mechanisms can fail. When they do, consciousness floods with unfiltered reality, and the results are catastrophic. Dr. Timothy Leary's research in the 1960s accidentally confirmed Jung's warnings. When subjects experienced ego dissolution through psychedelics, they often reported seeing reality without the buffer, and many never fully recovered. They had glimpsed what Jung called the terrible clarity, and their minds couldn't reconstruct the protective illusions necessary for normal functioning. Jung realized that what we call enlightenment in Eastern traditions was actually a carefully managed process of increasing clarity while maintaining psychological stability. The goal wasn't to see everything at once, that way lies madness, but to gradually expand awareness while strengthening the mind's capacity to contain difficult truths. This explained why spiritual traditions emphasized gradual development, teacher guidance, and community support. They understood intuitively what Jung proved scientifically. Unmanaged clarity destroys minds. Jung's research revealed 3 distinct types of dangerous clarity, each with its own psychological signature and devastating consequences. Type 1. Existential transparency. Seeing through the meaning-making mechanisms of human existence. People with this condition understand that most human activities are elaborate distractions from mortality and meaninglessness. They see through career ambitions, relationship dynamics, and social hierarchies with brutal accuracy. The result is often profound alienation and what Jung called existential nausea. Type 2. Social X-ray vision. Perceiving the hidden motivations, fears, and insecurities that drive human behavior. These individuals can read people like open books, seeing through social masks to the desperate psychological needs beneath. They understand manipulation tactics, status games, and emotional patterns with uncomfortable precision. The consequence is often complete withdrawal from human relationships. Type 3. Systemic omniscience. Recognizing the arbitrary nature of social structures, institutions, and belief systems. People with this clarity see through political narratives, religious doctrines, and cultural assumptions. They understand how power works, how consent is manufactured, and how reality is socially constructed. The result is often paralyzing cynicism and what Jung termed institutional vertigo. But here's what makes Jung's discovery truly dangerous. These types of clarity are spreading. Modern information access, psychological education, and scientific literacy are inadvertently dismantling the protective illusion systems that previous generations took for granted. Jung predicted that as civilization advances, more people would achieve dangerous levels of clarity without the psychological tools to manage it. He saw this as an evolutionary crisis. Human consciousness evolving faster than human wisdom. Dr. Sherry Turkle's research at MIT confirms Jung's predictions. She's documented increasing rates of what she calls technological disillusionment, people using digital tools to see through social pretenses and institutional facades, then struggling with the psychological consequences of excessive clarity. The internet has created what Jung would recognize as a clarity epidemic. Social media reveals the performative nature of human relationships. News cycles expose the manipulation in political processes. Dating apps reduce romance to algorithms. Financial systems reveal economic inequality with stark precision. We're living through the mass destruction of protective illusions that took millennia to develop. Jung warned that societies experiencing this level of collective clarity face psychological collapse. When too many people see through the comfortable lies that hold civilization together, social cohesion breaks down. We're witnessing this now in political polarization, institutional distrust, and what psychologists call collective meaninglessness syndrome. The danger isn't that these insights are wrong. Jung emphasized that dangerous clarity is still accurate clarity. The danger is that human psychology hasn't evolved to handle this much truth at once. Jung spent his final decades developing what he called the integration protocol, a systematic method for managing dangerous clarity without losing psychological stability. His approach was revolutionary because it didn't try to restore protective illusions. Instead, it taught people how to contain difficult truths. The protocol operates through 4 progressive stages. Stage 1. Truth titration. Gradually exposing yourself to difficult realities in manageable doses. Jung discovered that sudden revelation destroys minds, but slow exposure allows psychological adaptation. He developed exercises for incrementally expanding awareness while monitoring psychological capacity. Stage 2. Meaning regeneration, creating new sources of purpose that can survive clear-eyed analysis. Jung realized that traditional meaning sources, career, relationships, beliefs, become fragile under scrutiny. The integration protocol teaches people to find meaning in the process of growth itself, in creative expression, and in what Jung called authentic service, helping others navigate similar challenges. Stage 3. Psychological anchoring. Developing stable identity structures that don't depend on illusions. Jung taught techniques for building what he called the integrated personality, a sense of self that can remain coherent even when external meaning systems collapse. Stage 4. Constructive engagement, learning to interact effectively with people who still depend on protective illusions. Jung emphasized that integration doesn't mean becoming isolated. It means developing the skill to engage authentically without destroying others' necessary psychological defenses. Modern research has validated Jung's approach. Dr. Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion shows that people can handle difficult truths when they maintain kind awareness. Dr. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy demonstrates that meaning can be found even in the darkest circumstances when people focus on their response to reality rather than controlling reality itself. The integration protocol includes specific techniques Jung developed: the daily inventory, spending 10 minutes each morning acknowledging one difficult truth about existence while identifying one source of genuine gratitude. This builds tolerance for reality while maintaining psychological balance. Perspective cycling, practicing different viewpoints on the same situation to maintain cognitive flexibility. Jung noticed that people with dangerous clarity often become trapped in single perspectives. This exercise prevents psychological rigidity. Constructive pessimism, acknowledging worst-case scenarios while taking meaningful action anyway. Jung realized that people need to face difficult possibilities without becoming paralyzed by them. The sacred no, learning to opt out of meaningless activities and relationships without becoming completely isolated. Jung taught that integration requires protecting your psychological energy while remaining connected to others. Jung's philosophy professor eventually mastered the integration protocol, but his transformation took 3 years of intensive work. By 1926, he had developed what Jung called integrated clarity, the ability to see reality clearly while maintaining psychological stability and meaningful relationships. The professor didn't lose his insights about human nature, social pretenses, or existential meaninglessness. Instead, he learned to hold these truths alongside appreciation for beauty, connection, and growth. He could see through social rituals while still participating in them meaningfully. He understood the arbitrary nature of meaning while creating genuine purpose in his life. Most remarkably, he became more effective in all areas of life. His relationships deepened because he could see people's needs clearly while responding with compassion rather than judgment. His work became more impactful because he understood human motivation without becoming manipulative. His spiritual life flourished because he found transcendence in truth itself rather than in comforting beliefs. Jung realized that integrated clarity represents the next stage of human psychological evolution. People who master this state become what he called evolutionary pioneers, individuals who can navigate reality without protective illusions while helping others develop the same capacity. This transformation isn't just personal, it's civilizational. Jung predicted that humanity's survival depends on developing the ability to see clearly without losing wisdom, compassion, and the capacity for constructive action. Those who master integrated clarity become bridges between the old world of protective illusions and the new world of conscious evolution. The stakes couldn't be higher. As technology continues dismantling traditional meaning systems, we face a choice: psychological collapse under the weight of too much truth, or evolutionary leap toward integrated consciousness. Jung's discovery remains one of psychology's most dangerous insights. Human consciousness can evolve beyond its natural limits, and when it does, madness or wisdom become the only options. The protective illusions that shield us from reality's full intensity can fail, leaving minds naked before truths they cannot process. You're living through this evolutionary moment right now. Every day, technology and education strip away another layer of comforting illusion. You can either develop the psychological tools to handle what you're seeing, or you can watch your mind fragment under the pressure of unmanaged clarity. Jung's integration protocol offers a path between destructive revelation and willful blindness. The question isn't whether you'll see through society's protective lies. That process is already underway. The question is whether you'll develop the wisdom to contain what you discover. What protective illusions have you already seen through? What truths are you struggling to integrate? Share your experience in the comments. Jung believed that isolation makes dangerous clarity unbearable, but community makes it transformative. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But he never mentioned the price. You have to see clearly enough to recognize who you truly aren't. Most people aren't willing to pay that price. The question is, are you ready to see what lies beyond the merciful veil? The only way out is through, but through what exactly? That's what Jung spent his life trying to show us.